There really is nothing like Xenoblade. I don't think you are going to find another series that has the same package on offer, but what we can do is break down what we love about Xenoblade and look to some other games that excel in some of the same areas. So let's do that. Like I said, there really is nothing exactly like the Xeno series, and particularly Xenoblade, because it combines so many aspects that are usually the defining characteristic of other games on their own. There are very few games, if any, that combine such a strong open world focus with such a strong story focus. Games usually compromise on one or the other, then throw in the insane amounts of collectibles, exploration, complex battle systems, side quests, and sheer size and length, and you have something pretty unique even among JRPGs. Having said that, I feel there are certain things that really draw people into Xenoblade, so I've done my best to put together some recommendations that do things like narrative, character progression, and world building really well, and hopefully I can sway you to try out some of these incredible JRPG series. Just keep in mind, these aren't in any particular order. I'm not trying to rank these series. I think they are all worthy of a playthrough if you enjoy Xenoblade, and I've focused on actual series of games here rather than just singular, because if I was going to just recommend single games, we could be here all day. This was a bit of a weird one to put on the list, and it's why I've listed it as a bonus. I thought about it for a very long time, and really, the Yakuza series, especially Yakuza 0, has almost everything you could possibly want from a Xenoblade-like game. But because of its setting in real-world Japan, it never quite feels like Xenoblade, or indeed a proper JRPG at all, even though all the elements are there. The thing that Yakuza does best are side quests. The side content in this series rivals Xenoblade in quantity, and I would say they exceed Xenoblade in terms of quality. Yakuza has some of the best designed side content I've ever experienced in any game. They feel so organic and add so much to the enjoyment of a playthrough, and despite its real world setting, it is far from being realistic. Yakuza truly is a wild ride, and you should definitely get into the series if you have the chance. Legend of Heroes is criminally underrated by the mainstream. It does have a great following among JRPG fans, but Falcom is such a small studio in comparison to others which are making games of this scope. Honestly, Falcom is nothing short of courageous for the amount of work they put into their games after setting seemingly unreachable ambitions. And the one thing they sacrifice, especially in the West, is marketing. What that means is that almost 100% of their budget and effort go into crafting these incredible character-rich JRPGs chock full of story and side content. These games are huge, like really huge, and each entry is only one part of the overall story. Legend of Heroes is told in groups of games. I almost said trilogies, but that is no longer the case. The way you can tell what series you're playing through is pretty simple. Just read the part after Legend of Heroes in the title, like Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky and Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. A lot of the games are available on multiple platforms, on everything from PC to handheld, so there really is no excuse for not jumping in, especially if you want one hell of a character-driven story. Ni no Kuni isn't quite a series just yet, but in a couple of short months it will have its second entry, and really, either entry is going to satisfy your JRPG needs. Though Ni no Kuni 2, due out in March, is probably going to tick more of those Xenoblade boxes with its brand new battle system and less of an emphasis on Pokemon style catch-em-all mechanics. Ni no Kuni will blow you away with its narrative and gameplay that just works, while Ni no Kuni is shaping to be an incredibly ambitious project that is adding so much extra content to keep you entertained for what I'm imagining is going to be an 80 to 100 hour game on a normal playthrough. With Ni no Kuni 2 just around the corner, there is no better time than now to sink your teeth into the first game to pop you right on the hype train for March. I don't think I really need to say much here. If you don't already know that Nier Automata is on a new level of video game storytelling, then you probably haven't played it yet and really need to get on that. A masterful narrative with amazing, varying and seamless gameplay and combat, accompanied by an astonishing soundtrack, makes it one of the best games of all time. But Nier Automata isn't a one-off game. There is a whole series here with both Nier and Drakengard games, but I'll focus on the other Nier game here. Despite its less than critical acclaim on launch, it actually remains one hell of a game. It was mostly put down by critics for combat and gameplay, but it stemmed mostly from this false idea in a section of time during the PS3 era that this type of old school JRPG gameplay was dead. It really isn't all that bad, and the story, narrative, and world building more than make up for any shortcomings. I wanted to mention it because after Automata's success, there was a huge surge of interest in the Nier title on PS3, making it quite hard to find. Square Enix actually had to republish more copies in Japan to meet demand, so if you have the chance to get it for a decent price, do not hesitate because it'll only get more expensive in the future. I'll be honest, the original concept for this video was just a reason for me to push the Tales series onto people. I just love Tales, but in the West it's certainly not the first series that comes to mind, not even when talking about JRPGs. Tales is my favourite RPG series for many reasons, but mostly I just love the storytelling. I love the characters, and I love that they don't try and reinvent the wheel with every entry. They know what works and they keep doing it, and yet every game feels distinct and different. Sure, you know you're playing a Tales game, but the worlds, characters, and narrative are all vastly different between entries, and they never cease to entertain me in the best ways imaginable. It's also one of the only JRPG series that I don't lament for having an action battle system. I prefer turn-based and ATB systems far more, especially in RPGs, but Tales doesn't fall into the trap of making the action combat all about twitch reflexing and quick-time events. You can still relax while playing, which can't be said for most games with an action combat system. I simply enjoy Tales so very much, and I want you to enjoy them too. And since the graphics and art are heavily stylized and in most cases cel shaded, the older games have aged much better than any realistic art style from the same period, which just means there is such a great back catalogue to dive into after dipping your toes into the series. My personal favourites are Exilia, Symphonia, and Abyss. And speaking of personal favourites, you could make that list if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button if you like this video. Be sure to jump down to the comments section and join the discussion. Is there a series you would personally recommend for Xenoblade fans? You can also check out the video description for links on where to buy the games featured in the video or to find out how you can support the channel. Have a good day or night, and I'll see you all soon.